Jamie Raskin went on Jen Psaki's show. The amount of delusion of these Democrats, the lack of introspection, of looking inside and saying, hey, that applies to me. Well, if they won't do it, I guess we will. I'm John Mike Keene. Here's Jamie Raskin.
Bondi, again, we're just piecing together the details now, but she's somebody who's been a very loyal Trump partisan, including on election denialism. So she's gone on TV to echo election denialist claims.
It's weird that he has a problem with her going on TV and denying elections when he said he would disqualify Trump in January of 2025, which is the ultimate election denial.
It's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody. And
put that on the record that all of what Jamie Raskin says about Pam Bondi, that's what needs to be put into context, because Democrats are going to try to give heat to Pam Bondi for saying that 2020 had suspicious results.
She has made false allegations about cheating in the 2020 presidential election, which still they adhere to, even though, we have 60 federal and state court decisions rejecting all of their fraudulent claims.
And all the 60 decisions, that's false. Most of them did not take up the court cases based on procedure. So they were not tried and found to be false.
In her case, I think we've got to be focused on what are they going to do with the Department of Justice? Are they going to convert this institution, which has been an implementer of law enforcement and has improved dramatically over time, into the president's personal law firm and an instrument of vendetta and retribution?
Where has he been for the last 2 years of the DOJ going after Trump once he said that he would run for office? Here's Merrick Garland.
People depend on us to ensure that our investigations and our prosecutions are conducted according to the facts and the law and without political influence.
And now we see that they were all politically influenced. In fact, the Supreme Court reversed one of their major decisions on Trump's immunity. Almost all of them have gone away or are going away. That's how little stickiness they had. Now, if Raskin says that Bondi and Trump's claims are somehow fraudulent and politicized because they all got dismissed, then Merrick Garland here, I believe that's proof against Merrick Garland, that these are all dismissed because it was the politicization of this institution.
We have gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure that the committees get responses to their legitimate requests, but this is not one.
The tweet, to help put it into context, Johnny Midnight. Here's Merrick Garland telling reporters he doesn't need to respond to congressional subpoenas he decides are not legitimate. He's currently throwing Steve Bannon behind bars for not responding to the J6 committee subpoena. Bannon went to prison for doing the same thing that Merrick Garland did.
To the contrary, this is one that would harm our ability in the future to successfully pursue sensitive investigations.
That's a great opinion. And I say if you don't get thrown into prison, just like Steve Bannon for doing the same thing, then you're harming the law.
There have been a series of unprecedented and frankly unfounded attacks on the Justice Department. This request, this effort to use contempt as a method of obtaining our sensitive law enforcement files is just the most recent. The effort to threaten to defund our investigations and the way in which there are contributions to an atmosphere that puts our agents and our prosecutors at risk, these are wrong.
No, if you can do the same thing to Peter Navarro and to Bannon, it has to be done to you. Don't give me this protect your FBI and DOJ institutions. You went after private citizens and locked them up And now you should be given the same contempt charge. And if you still don't respond, you should be locked up.
Because the Washington Post is reporting that Donald Trump plans to fire the entire team that worked with Jack Smith, perhaps not a surprise, in the 2 federal cases against him. And they've also said they're going to resign, including career attorneys typically protected from political retribution, all of them.
How can they call it political retribution that he's going to fire them when they've already announced that they're going to resign?
He also plans to redirect DOJ resources to investigate the 2020 election. Pam Bondi is somebody who would be leading the Department of Justice.
This is what happens when you don't allow them to go to the courts and the issue does not go away. And we've seen the same thing happen that happened in 2020, happen in 2024 in Pennsylvania, and courts came out and rejected what the Democrats did. The same thing they did in 2020.
People feel very powerless out there. What can Democrats do if that's where Donald Trump wants to move the resources of the Department of Justice? Is there anything that Democrats can do?
Well, you could start winning elections for one.
Trump was not elected with any kind of positive agenda for the country. I mean, his most detailed agenda was around immigration and deportation. They are already starting to try to alter laws around the country to build in a political advantage.
Trump has a mandate. Here's Byron Donalds.
And if you look at these cabinet choices, they have one mission in mind, and that is to enact the agenda of Donald J. Trump that the American people voted for overwhelmingly.
And one thing that the media spread about Donald Trump before the election was that he was an election denier and that he had questions about the 2020 elections. They had a number of lawsuits on it. It was very public. They voted for Trump. That's part of his agenda. So he ought to start the investigation on 2020.
Like in North Carolina, where the Democrats swept a lot of the state constitutional offices, the outgoing Republican state legislature is trying to entrench Republican power, taking powers away from the governor and giving them to the state auditor. And I view what I think we're about to see at the Department of Justice in exactly the same light. They want to go back to all of the lies about 2020, which have been debunked ad nauseum.
His claim is that on the way out, we're trying to change all the laws. Well, the Democrats on the way out quickly funded the Ukraine using long-range missiles. Biden did that on the way out. They're also quickly appointing all of their lefty judges, trying to fire them through before they leave office.
They want to install people who are going to prosecute the prosecutors, as Bondi has said. And it looks like a completely different kind of institution from the one that has been built up through both Democratic and Republican administrations in the past. So
I don't know what institution he's talking about. This is the most corrupt Democrat institution that we just now left for the last 4 years, politicized, weaponized, going after only opponents. And when it comes to Hunter Biden, we got to do a massive cover up on that. Or Biden with Burisma, Ukraine payments, his bank dealing with China. Cover that up, dismiss it.
It looks to me like a recipe for nonstop political warfare. I mean,
what you guys did, the lawfare you did against Trump, if you don't experience some of it back, you will not stop. I'm John Mike Keane.